You've probably scrolled through a million Kyoto videos showing the exact same locations, temples, red gates. Well, what if I told you that there are different photography spots with zero tourists and you can have them all to yourself? Well, today I'm going to reveal to you my favorite street photography locations in Kyoto. And if you stick by to the end, I've got a nice place to recommend if you're in the mood for noodles. When it comes to discussing the different places in Kyoto to photograph, there is one set place that I definitely recommend you spending some time at. That is the area surrounding Yasaka Pagoda. It's better known as the Higashiyama district, but there is a network of roads, stairs, alleyways that you could spend a few days just getting lost in the entire area. Among them are Sanenzaka and Ninenzaka, which are like the cobblestone roads leading up to the pagoda. I do recommend you spend more than a few minutes in this area, if possible a few days. Actually, not too far away is Kyoto Kaisei Junior High School. This whole area between Yasaka Pagoda and the junior high is like one giant playground for photography. I spent many days here just exploring, getting lost, and coming back multiple times to take photos that I might have missed. Now, you could actually head in the opposite direction towards Gion also. Now, we've all seen the social media posts about there being signs against photography in Gion. Now, the main roads is fine. It's only a selected number of private alleyways and roads leading to residential areas that forbid photography. So as long as you stay away from the areas that have signs that say no photography or no entry for tourists, then you should be fine. Get lost in these giant areas and explore. You'll find it much more rewarding than simply going to the temples and battling all the tourists there. I do want to add though that if you are exploring these areas, it is best to do it at night, especially Yasaka Pagoda. If you do want this picture, you should probably get there before sunrise because the crowds can be rough. However, if you're exploring the side roads and alleys like I mentioned, then you'll probably be the only tourist there and you'll probably have a good time doing so. Now, as you head further up towards Yasaka Jinja, or the actual shrine itself, you're going to come across Shijo Dori. Now, Shijo Dori is very well known for its food stalls and restaurants. However, it is not the main road that I want you to explore, but rather the back alleys surrounding Shijo Dori are just amazing, especially at night. When I was there, at least, there weren't that many tourists around. That's because most of them stick to the shrine or the main road. But if you go to the back alleys, you're going to capture another side of Kyoto that almost nobody ever shows, the less traditional side. That's perfect if you're going for that cyberpunk Blade Runner look, which happens to be my specialty. There is another such area that is very similar to Shijo Dori, that is Pontocho Alley. However, Pontocho Alley has many more izakayas and small bars, and the alleyways are much more narrow. I'm quite confident that you'll have a blast just photographing these two areas. Now, while you're at Pontocho Alley, if you make your way downwards along the Philosopher's Path, you're going to find plenty of photo opportunities. Now, the Philosopher's Path is a touristy area. If you don't know it, it runs parallel to the Kamo River, which of course is also a great photography spot. However, the back roads and little side streets along the Philosopher's Path is just amazing. You rarely see people in this area because most of them are along the Philosopher's Path. So take some time, explore the back alleys, and you're going to find some real gems. Now, as you make your way further south on the Philosopher's Path, there's actually one area that I really enjoyed very much. The street itself is called Nishi Kiyamachi Dori. This area is located near the Kamo River. It's a few blocks of really rundown buildings and, well, as mentioned earlier, a residential area. However, you're probably not gonna find any tourists there. Aside from the Higashiyama district, I spent a good amount of my time just exploring up and down these alleyways, especially at night. I was really drawn to the older architecture, the more traditional style houses. It had that feeling I was searching for when I went to Kyoto, minus the tourists. Now, both Higashiyama and Nishi Kiyamachi Dori Street are residential areas, so you do have to be respectful. However, Higashiyama is a bit more modern, but it still retains that Kyoto vibe, and I had a blast photographing both areas. If anything, these are probably my favorite spots. There is also a guest house that I would heavily recommend. It's called Case House Backpackers Hostel. It's not too far away from Kyoto Station, and it's not so far away from Yasaka Shrine either. Speaking of Kyoto Station, chances are you're probably getting off here on your train. You can explore the area surrounding it, however, I didn't really enjoy it so much. It was a bit too modern for me, kind of soulless in a way, but I know many people enjoy taking photos inside Kyoto Station itself. Now, one of the other really popular areas that you've probably already heard about is Arashiyama. It's best known for the bamboo forest there. However, if you climb this mountain, you're going to come across a bunch of monkeys. And if you're into Kyoto monkeys, it's a great place to go to. You also get a good view of the city. However, it is not the Arashiyama bamboo forest or the top of the mountain that I want to recommend to you. What I want to recommend to you is actually at the base of Arashiyama. It is a series of rivers and canals. Now, this is not a side of Kyoto many people often see, but there are many shops and restaurants located along the river. You often see lots of families just relaxing, having a good time here. So I really want to recommend coming to Arashiyama and exploring these waterways. I think you'll come back with many interesting photos that are much more different than what you're used to getting. I cannot end this video without recommending at least one shrine. Everyone's got a favorite shrine, but for me the most memorable one was Otagi Nenbutsuji. This shrine has hundreds of little monk statues lined up along the area. For me, it was the most memorable. Now, it is a little bit harder to get here. You can actually get there from Saga Arashiyama Station. But what I like the most about this area is that it's further away from the crowds of people, and you're rarely going to be offloaded a bus of tourists. So it's probably just going to be you, friends, and maybe a handful of others. Not to mention the amazing photographs you can get there. If you follow at least one of my recommendations, I think you're going to come back from your trip of Tokyo with a lot more memories than you would get just heading to the same places everybody else does. The lines are long and no one really mentions, but usually most of these shrines or palaces, they usually close before sundown. But pretty much all of these places that I mentioned are free. Well, except the Otagi Nenbutsuji shrine, but that's like 400 yen. It's nothing. As promised, I'm going to share a restaurant that I really enjoyed. It's called Nekomata. They do serve noodles, but they have many other different kinds. Now, I'm not a very big noodle person, but this place was just amazing, and I wanted to share it with you. Now, why don't we edit a photograph? This was taken with my trusted infrared camera, as you can tell by the pink trees. Now, this is actually a French man with what I think is a Vietnamese hat. I don't think Japanese wear them, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyways, I woke up at sunrise to take this photo, and there was already a crowd of people there, but at least it was a small crowd. Let's see. We're gonna start by reducing the highlights. You're gonna see some color coming back in the sky. Increase the whites. This is what I usually do with my photos. Give it nicer dynamic range. And it's looking nicer already. However, I kind of want the sky to match the trees a bit more. So unlike my usual other photos, I'm actually gonna go to the highlights here. Play around with the colors. See? And actually I kind of prefer this orangish purplish kind of look that matches the palette of everything else. And for the shadows, I'm going to give it just a light, very light touch of blue or purple, something like that. I'm going to crush the blacks just enough, and I don't really think I need to play with the vibrance or anything like that. Let's see what happens when I play around with the white balance though. No, I don't like that. I don't like that either. I guess that's fine enough. Now I do remember these lamps being a bit more kind of orangish, so I'm gonna paint back some color in there. Take out my brush, reduce the size, and increase the temperature, and it's some light adjustments. That looks closer to what I remember that day. And we're gonna end this by denoising it, if I might say. Alright, so you don't usually have people like this walking around, but I guess he's kind of cosplaying. I remember there were some photographers there and he was wearing the props and they wanted to get a photo like this. I didn't pay for anything, I just stepped in there and took my shot. Tried my best not to get in their way. So I got a photo like this, but I also have a photo of like a geisha somewhere. I guess she was going to work and I just happened to snap the photo. She's somewhere. Maybe here? Yeah, nope. Anyways, there she is. I got lucky with this one. Hope you enjoyed this editing session. And yeah,